love it. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, March 6th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Matt Belman. We're brought to you by BetMGM. We've got another 8-game slate ahead of us. We've got the big contest on DraftKings. We have a millie also on DK, which is just hanging out there, waiting to make somebody a millionaire. Not going to be me today, unfortunately. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What's going on, man? Did you have enough Sengun last night?
I did not. I only played one lineup and I did not have Sengun. So it was a quick night for me. That'll happen. How about yourself? Actually, I saw your name up there. I don't remember how deep into the night it was. I mean, I'm sure you have a better recollection. It was kind of late, though. You were top 10.
You saw way more than I did. I finished 20th. I didn't know that. I talked to Adam earlier today, and he said he saw me at third at one point in time, and then it started to tumble a little bit. So somewhere in that neighborhood. I guess the Playback stream knew a little bit more than me, but I was long since in bed last night in comparison. So when we have those 10:30 games, I'll never, ever, ever make it to the end. Unless I'm like, my core has hit so well early that I know I'm going to have live bullets. I knew that I had some good I had like 50% Sengun. So I knew that I had some lineups that were set up to be good, but no real, like, I needed a couple more dudes to be amazing for me to think I should stay up. So I was asleep and have never had any idea.
Yeah, that's usually me. That was me last night. Just sounds like a little bit later than you. So I just wanted to see where things stood. I think once the Sengun game was over, but Luka wasn't done yet. I'm pretty sure that lineup didn't have Luka, if I remember correctly, your top lineup, or did it?
Mine or the top lineup?
Yours.
No idea. Don't even.
Okay.
I never even went back and looked. I actually have no idea. Let me see. We have time. I'll pull it up. I never even looked. Like 20th is might as well be 420th. So
yeah, it makes no difference. I mean, it's almost.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I was happy. However, let's see. It had Campaign, McBride, Butler and Hart, Sengun, Oubre, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Van Vliet.
Think you needed Luka? I don't even know what he ended with.
72, I think. Well, with the amount of value that you had,
right,
Luka just became a guy that you could very easily get to at that point. So, like, his 72 is fine. Like, it's obviously a really nice score. Doesn't have to be the key if you get a couple of those 7K, 8K, 9K guys doing what they need to do. But yeah, with his 72, with the amount of value we had, it was just, he became a thing. Winning lineup was Payne, Oubre, Jalen Green, Wade, Claxton, Doncic, Finney-Smith, and Sengun.
Like the DiVincenzo's and Josh Harts of the world were not good enough to overcome Luka and X value.
Right. Yeah, that was what once like all the Payne stuff started happening yesterday, we really started to free up some money. Looks like we get to do that again today. Are you ready to break this one down?
Yeah, should be a fun one. It's weird. I was thinking about this a little bit before we got on. Last Wednesday was the Strus crazy fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And today is Dean Wade Day.
Yeah.
So that was, you just never see that in the NBA where a guy like that does that.
No, against the overwhelming best regular season team right now. Like, no debate. Boston's number one. There is no argument for any other option during the regular season right now other than Boston. And it was just like, no, Dean Wade's going to take over.
Yeah, it's just so, what a bizarre set of events. I'll take it, though.
Yeah. All righty, here we go. Orlando Magic, 7-point favorites in Washington, 224 total. We have no Gary Harris. We have no John Isaac. We got that information early. We got some information later now as well. Wendell Carter Jr. has been added to the injury report. Questionable now. Soreness in his right knee. This will open up some sort of weird Goga Batadze day, potentially. He is the flat 30. Well, yeah, flat. He's 3,200. I don't know why I said it like that. He's not the flat anything. 3,200 center only. But for right now, we still have Wendell Carter Jr. in. Really doesn't matter. This is the 7 o'clock game. We're going to know what's happening here. the moral of this story is 10% ownership coming in to Franz Wagner and Cole Anthony. A little bit of positive leverage coming into Cole Anthony and Franz Wagner. Do you like anything here for Orlando? Because it's a great matchup.
It's a great spot with Wendell Carter in. I think they all look like good plays because they're in a good spot and they're priced fairly, but not great plays because they're not going to be missing anyone really. And they're not priced great. They're just priced fairly. So I like Banchero at 8,600, only getting 12% ownership. Like, I'll take Banchero against the Wizards all day at that type of ownership. Hard to like put that in action though, with so many other good plays on the slate, but he's up there. Franz, I think, is in the same boat. Just a really good spot for these guys. Cole Anthony was standing out as one of the best leverage plays on the slate, at least earlier in the day. For me though, it's really like if Carter's out, is Goga / Mo Wagner / both just a lock?
I mean, if Goga starts, he's 3,200. Like, let's just say he's 0.9 fantasy points per minute and you give him 24. That's 21.5 fantasy points at 3,200. That's 6.7x his salary. Like, he's immediately just 25, 30% out. We already have a lot of value, so I don't think it's going to make him go extreme. Like, if we didn't have everything going on already, then you could really see it be different. But we have enough value options now that it won't go crazy, I don't think. But he immediately becomes someone you have to get to. And then you have to start entertaining the Mo Wagner possibility of just like, how many extra minutes can he play? Does he go from 18 to 22 or 23? At which point we're talking about a guy that's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute. You get him up to 24 fantasy points and we can start having a conversation about him being a good play. Probably a better play at that point than like Paolo, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing I disagree with is if we get Goga starting and it's not like a minute before lock, I think he becomes the most popular player on the slate. People are comfortable with that, especially in higher dollar stuff. I know there's other good value spots, but not like flat 3K centers starting. I think it just makes everything so easy,
I don't disagree. I'm thinking somewhere in like, let me just think about it here. Because we've got ownership coming into... All right, so Samanic is 30% right now. Dean Wade's 25. I think that's about where he would end up there. That 25 to 30 in large field, a little bit more concentrated in the others. Because the real helpful thing for Samanic and Wade is they're also getting that power forward eligibility, whereas Goga is going to be limited center only. So that sort of makes those guys aren't great per minute dudes, but having power forward sort of starts to equalize them to Goga's rates.
I agree. It starts to equalize them. And I don't think you're wrong. Just not going to be surprised if Goga ends up like really popular, depending on when we get this Carter news. But I don't care. I mean, he's a really good play anyways. 3,200 starting at center in this scenario. So yeah.
God, that'll be wild. When did he start? He started relatively recently, right?
Yeah, he did. He started a game when Banchero was out.
It was February 25th. He played 18.5 minutes. So that's like the scary part. Does he like how many minutes do you really get to him? And that's why I went 24. Realistically, it might be more like 22 as a true projection. That's where it starts to get scary because we're certainly not projecting him for starter minutes. Like he's not going to get the 20. You're not going to project the 26 that Wendell Carter Jr. has. If he did, then he's soaring right to the top with campaign.
Fair. All fair points.
Yeah. All right. On the Washington side, no ownership coming into these guys. 8% to Kyle Kuzma, 7% to Tyus Jones. They're both around 10%. I like Kuzma once again. I've been really on Kuzma a lot lately. He's in 21% of my lineups right now, so more than 2x the field. It's 7,700, power forward center. No Marvin Bagley in this one. We don't totally yet know who's going to start at center. Could be Rashawn Holmes. Could be Kyle Kuzma. Could be Eugene Omoyuri. They have a couple different options. What do you see for the Wizards in not a great spot against the Magic?
I see Kuzma starting at center. Feel like we've read this book before, and more often than not, it's been Kuzma at center. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they change it up in this matchup. Who knows? It's Washington. They can do whatever the hell they want. But I'm with you. Kuzma looks good. I don't think he stands out compared to like other, hot mid to high end differentiators on this slate, but he's in that mix. Too cheap for his upside for sure, even in this matchup. So it's Kuzma or bust for me from Washington. Tyus Jones, we talked about him. The thing I like about him, and I guess maybe I poo-pooed him too easily, him and Kuzma both coming in with positive leverage. We talked about his assist rate going crazy with Jordan Poole off the bench. My biggest problem with Tyus Jones, though, is just allocating a guard spot on him because guard is loaded.
It certainly is. I like that shout out for Kuzma here, and I think we'll probably be in agreement here. I just grabbed this chunk of guys: DeMar DeRozan, Jaren Jackson, Tobias Harris, Kobe White, Kuzma, Garland, Chet. Everyone but Kuzma got their ownership to 10% or higher. Kuzma's the only one in that group that's in single digits. I don't think that anybody in that range is all that different to each other. Like, I've got about 15 to 20% of all of them. But if Kuzma is going to be in the single digits in ownership in comparison to everybody else, I'm at least a little intrigued.
Yeah, I like that point. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm with you. Like, I don't think anyone in that group stands out. Give me the lowest owned, especially at a non-guard position.
Anybody, what's your assumption for starting lineup here for the Wizards? Do you think they go to Holmes or do you think they go small?
I do think they go Kuzma. So I don't know. Like I said, Washington, who the hell knows? They probably don't even know. So Jones, Kuzma at center, Avdia,
Kispert, Koulibaly, or Shamet,
Koulibaly. Kispert or Shamet was only starting for Koulibaly, if I'm correct, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
So I think it's the other two you said, Koulibaly and Kispert, to go with Jones, Avdia, and Kuzma. Now maybe they don't start Kispert and start Omayuri or Rashawn Holmes. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
What do you want to do with Holmes if he starts? 3,800. Is he? What does he look like to you then?
It's really hard to grasp. I think he's a really intriguing GPP play. I just have no idea how to project his minutes, because this is one, and we've seen this with Rashawn Holmes throughout his entire career. When he can start and play big minutes and then be out of the rotation for like 10 games straight. So if he's starting, I'm certainly interested. It's far from like a lock. I mean, we've seen this a lot recently. You just talked about Goga. Mo Bamba comes to mind as guys that are starting and just not closing and not playing a lot of minutes. Wouldn't be surprised at that, but also like, why would Washington do that? Like, why?
I don't know.
Like, if you're going to start Holmes, play Holmes. If you're not going to play Holmes, don't start him. So I am interested if he starts. Wish he were 3K, but I also wish a lot of other things in life that aren't true.
I think they're going to go small with Kuzma to start, and he'll be mostly useless. But here's the real takeaway. If Wendell Carter Jr. is out and Goga starts, then like Rashawn Holmes is barely a pivot to Goga at that point. Goga is going to look way better than Holmes. He's a slightly better to definitely better per minute guy. And I think definitely has a higher minute ceiling, considering they seem quite loath to play Rashawn Holmes for any real minutes. Most he's gotten over the past month is 14 and a half. And that was the day with Gafford was already gone. Koulibaly got hurt. Kispert was out. Like, they've had guys out and he still doesn't get out on the floor.
If he's starting, though, I don't even know if Goga's minutes upside is higher. I think his minutes security is higher.
Sure.
And like Holmes is probably not playing big minutes, but we kind of know Goga's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They would be close. I think you would probably end up going something like 22 to Goga, 23 to Goga, and like 20 or 21 to Holmes. We just have no evidence of them wanting to play Holmes for like north of 20 minutes.
That's why I would be shocked if they started him. So this conversation's probably for naught anyways.
Yeah. All righty. We go to your Cleveland Cavaliers, who unfortunately going to be without Evan Mobley for a bit. Rolled his ankle last night. Sucks. I don't like seeing good young players get hurt. They're also without Max Strus for today and Donovan Mitchell. So 3 people from their main rotation are out. Tristan Thompson, too. I guess 4 if you want to be really technical. Lots of ownership, though, coming into Cleveland. 35% to Jared Allen. 25% to Dean Wade. 15 to 20 on Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, George Niang, and Sam Merrill, with another 10 to Isaac Okoro. Jared Allen is 40% owned on FanDuel because he has power forward eligibility. This Cleveland team is pulling a ton of ownership because the Atlanta Hawks have the number 30 ranked defense. And for those of you that don't know, there are only 30 teams in the NBA, and they also play at the fastest pace. This spot is great for Cleveland, and we have all of this additional value because people are out. I like getting to most of this. What stands out most to you?
Jared Allen for sure stands out as the best real play on the slate. Cam Payne and Chris Dunn, they're cheap guards that look really good points per dollar, but Jared Allen is way too cheap for this spot with no Mobley. Yeah, I mean, we read this book like a couple weeks ago when Mobley was out, and he was smashing. He's now priced down. Price continues to fall. The price will rise. Wouldn't be surprised if next slate they're on, he's above 8K again. I think you just play Allen, get different elsewhere. He looks like one of, if not the best play on the slate. Garland looks really good to me. I mean, no Mitchell, great spot. Your Kuzma point made me start thinking, though, like, guard is so valuable today. And you've got other players in Garland's price point that are decent pivots, like Kyle Kuzma, but Garland does project better. So, like, I get it. He looks really good. I think Okoro actually looks decent, and I hate that because he sucks, but he's been better this year. It's a great spot. He's going to play huge minutes here. They actually kind of need him on offense because they just don't have guys coming in with a ton of leverage also, which I like from a chalky team. I like Okoro. I'm never going to love him, so I don't love him today. You know, Dean Wade, I think it's fine because he's so cheap, but I'm not like overly excited about going back there at that ownership because he is just not a fantasy producer, hardly ever. You got the game from him last night, but I don't really want to chase that personally. You know, I think George Niang is as good of a player, not better than Wade, who played, you know, Niang played, I think, more minutes than Wade last night. They're basically the same price point. So don't hate that pivot. Sam Merrill at 4,800 is probably too pricey, but again, great spot, puts him in play. And then Karis LeVert, I'm fine with him, 6K. I don't love him. I think he's certainly a step below Garland and Allen, but a step above those other guys. So Allen is the only like true lock for me. Fine getting a bunch of other guys, though. How about you?
7 guys in our boom bust tool are 10% optimal or higher. And obviously these guys are getting some ownership. I'm right there with you with Allen. He's 7,300. I'm a little bit under the field, but I still have 31%. So, you know, a guy that is very much in the mix for me. Second most exposed guy behind Dean Wade. I have 36% of Wade. That price tag with the ability to get to power forward and the fact that I assume he's just starting and playing, like they're down so many bodies that his minutes are about as secure as they can be. I know it feels so chasey after yesterday. It has nothing to do with yesterday's performance at all. It just so happens like, and yeah, obviously you know that, but like he's 3,200 and stepping into a starting role and has power forward eligibility, and they don't really have any other big guys that they like. And like, not that he's a big guy, but like they don't have anybody else that can really. It's like him and Niang and Jared Allen to split 96 minutes basically. They're going to be out there for a shit ton. I like the shout of Niang. I have 17% of him. Very easy pivot to want to get to small forward, power forward eligibility. Still getting to my boy Garland at 7,600, only 25%, but I mean, this matchup is just a cupcake spot. I'm a little bit under on LeVert, neutral on Okoro, and just like yesterday, I am well under on Sam Merrill. Gave him 30 minutes. He's 4,800 shooting guard only. I have 2%. We have him projected for 19% ownership right now. I don't anticipate getting too much of Sam Merrill. He'll be the guy that I lose for Cleveland. So if anybody wants to know, I assume Sam Merrill shoots the lights out tonight.
It did update, and he's only projected for 12.5. So that is a little bit better to stomach.
But this is like one of the better teams you can get to. They're shorthanded, the pricing's great, and they have the best matchup on the slate. Like what more could you possibly want?
Yeah, and I'm with you on Wade. Like it's almost like the reverse psychology. Like no one cares, at least, you know, talking to you, we don't care that Wade, you know, crushed last night. So like it's almost like it's that mental battle, right? Like other people aren't playing Wade because he played well last night. They're playing him because he looks so good at 3,200 tonight.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Like if they increased Wade's price to 4,200 because of this, like less people would be clicking it. It doesn't make him any different at all. This is just a salary game, and his salary isn't right for today.
Amen.
That's the big takeaway for all of this. Like, if Dean Wade was 6,200, he would have 0% ownership. He's owned because he's 3,200 and the price is broken. Merrill Peak hit us with the super chat. Suggs or Merrill today? Interesting. So the answer to me is Merrill, even though I don't really have him. But I think based on the ownership, it's night and day between Merrill and Suggs.
Yeah, I don't have a strong take there. I did want to get your opinion on Niang as a pivot off Wade, or playing them both together. I just don't think they're that different of plays. Niang is also pulling some ownership too, though. So you're not like playing him strictly for the low ownership.
I got to 17% of Niang. I went 24 minutes. We have 24 and a half. I think he looks pretty good. Just like that price tag will work. And with no Mitchell, I think that's actually better for Niang. He just gets a couple extra opportunities to get shots up. Like if Mitchell were still there and they were just missing someone else that plays a lot of minutes, like if we're just like Levert out instead, I don't think there's as much benefit for Niang because you're still going to have Mitchell monopolizing the ball. But in this case, Niang can get his shot up, and he's a solid enough shooter.
Strus too, because I mean, he's going to shoot a lot of the same shots Strus might.
Absolutely. I kind of want to give Niang an extra minute and like take a bit of a stand there now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, and I think just Cleveland overall just is too cheap for this spot. I mean, not even just the spot. The injuries make them look like probably the best overall team on the slate. You could quibble with that with a couple others.
As of right now, they are the second most owned team behind Philadelphia and 4 percentage points ahead of Utah. But those three are the overwhelming three. All right, folks. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. That's going to be able to unlock Live Before Lock. That will be the show that comes up right after this at 6 p.m. They'll take you all the way until 7. And then myself and Greg will hop on to Playback with you guys. We're going to watch games. We're doing an Odd Shopper giveaway for the first basket of Orlando and Washington. So make sure you're answering Greg's tweet. You got to go over there right now. Respond with who you think is going to get the first basket. We will draw a name for whoever gets it right. Don't want to miss it. We like to watch basketball games together. We could hand out some League Pass subs, potentially. You could be VIPs for our channel. We've been having a lot of people hang out with us, and it's been a good time. I'm not hanging out for the full hour today. At least I don't think I am. All right, my dog had some surgery today, and he's a little gooned out on the pain juice downstairs. So kind of just want to give my pick, hang out for a little bit, and then go hang out with that guy. But he's doing good, so no stress there. But he got to have some ketamine today. I saw in the paperwork. I was pretty jealous of my dog when I saw that.
He doesn't happen to have any extra, does he?
I was wondering if they would send him home with some just as like a treatment mechanism. Like, buddy, you're fine, right? You don't want to be in that hole any longer.
That's so good.
Also use our avatar. Go to stokastic.com/avatar. Use that logo on DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, or Yahoo. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you will get yourself 1 month of whichever Stokastic package you want, except for all access sports. So if you want the NBA pass, that's projections, ownership, sims, lineup generator, premium Discord, and more. All you have to do is tweet that result at Stokastic HOF. Show us your lineup. Show us the contest you were in. We want to show it off to the world. We want to reward you as well. Memphis Grizzlies are 5.5-point dogs in Philadelphia, 212 total. We are still waiting on the news for Jaren Jackson, but if he is in, he's the only guy getting any love. 12% owned, 16% optimal. I'm always a fan of Triple J. I have 28%. I doubt you're surprised to hear that. I want nothing else from Memphis, but if he's out, then we start talking about all these other losers because there's not a lot going on the Philly side either.
I think Jaren Jackson plays today. He's questionable.
I hope you're right. Yeah, he is.
So Memphis, and this is just going down a rabbit hole of Memphis earlier in the season. Their injury report often works like the game before a guy's going to come back, he's going to be listed as doubtful and not play. And then the game they're going to come back and play, they're listed as questionable. So I would be surprised if Jackson does not play here. I'm expecting him to play. He looks good. I mean, we've had this conversation 20 times already, and nothing's changed today. Like, it's not a great spot for Memphis, although Philly's defense has fallen considerably without Joel Embiid. So it's not a bad spot. I don't think it's a spot that like stands out for him, but he stands out in the boom bust tool. 15.5% chance of being optimal, 13% ownership, projected for 41.5 fantasy points at 7,800. There's nothing that doesn't look good there. I think he's in that mix of Kyle Kuzma, DeRozan, Garland, all those guys.
Agreed. By the way, I missed Atlanta. Highest owned guy on Atlanta right now is 6% Sadiq Bey. Highest optimal is 8% Jalen Johnson. Like, it doesn't appear there's a lot going on for Atlanta. It's not a very good matchup, even without Mobley. Did you have any Atlanta Hawks thoughts? I don't really have anybody here other than a little bit of Sadiq Bey.
For me, it's DeJounte Murray. And it's the same thing I've been saying. Like, he's coming in with leverage. It's not a good spot against Cleveland, but Cleveland's missing a lot of their guys. So just their team defense in general is not going to be as strong. The Hawks, are coming off a nice road win against the Knicks last night, like where they played really well. I don't mind playing a Hawk or two if I'm playing a ton of Cavs. You don't have to, but I don't mind it.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on for Memphis?
No.
We really just need that Triple J news. I don't think anybody immediately becomes amazing if Triple J is out, but we can start getting these guys a little bit more because they just have to fill in a lot of usage and a lot of minutes.
They're just kind of priced up now. Even with Jackson out, they become in play, but not anything close to must plays.
Okay, we're on the same page. So then for Philly, this one's the one that sucks. So no Embiid, no Maxey, which we learned yesterday, no Melton, no Robert Covington, and then we also got no Kyle Lowry out for rest today. So that means we have 72% ownership coming into campaign. He's a $4,100 point guard. He's 85% owned on FanDuel. Kelly Oubre coming off a big game yesterday, 50% owned on DraftKings, $5,500 shooting guard, small forward. He's also 50 on FanDuel. And then just 11 coming into Tobias Harris at 7,800. He's 36 on FanDuel. Those three guys are getting getting ownership. No one else is really getting any love here from Philadelphia. Let's start with the easy stuff. Is there any way to get away from campaign?
I mean, yeah, because he's not the flat man, and there's a ton of good guards on this slate. But I think he just makes lineup construction so much easier, and I think he stands out as one of the best plays on the slate. There are universes where, I mean, Garland and Fred VanVleet and, one other point guard are amazing, and like he's not optimal, but most of the time this slate plays out, Payne is good, and then other guys that are forwards or other guards or whatever are good paired with him. So yeah, you could always make a case for getting away from him, but that's just playing devil's advocate type of thing. I think you just play him and move on personally. How about you? I'm sure you feel the same.
87% of my lineups right now, just they don't really have anybody else that does his job, and that's really the takeaway. Like, he's going to play a lot. I went 30 minutes, we went 29. I really don't think it matters. Like, he's just going to be out there in a really nice spot against Memphis. Even though Memphis defense has been decent with Triple J in, this is still a team that's like not running out a lot of real NBA talent. So he just looks really, really good. I feel very similar for Kelly Oubre. Even if he doesn't start again like he did yesterday, I still think he's just playing a lot of minutes. I don't think they're trying to play huge minutes to Ricky Council and Tercavion Smith and like all these other idiots. So I have 55% of Kelly Oubre. Very happy to get there. But Harris is the guy I want to talk about. Only 11% owned. We only have him 11% optimal. I mean, he's the best player on the team, right?
Yeah, I guess right now, but
they're 5.5 point favorites against Memphis. Like, shouldn't this be a better Tobias Harris spot?
Maybe, and I don't think it's a bad Tobias Harris spot. I just think that it's 7,800 projected for about 40 fantasy points. He's right in line with the Kuzmas, DeMar DeRozans of the world. Like, I think it's really hard deciphering between those guys. Harris has certainly been underwhelming, but he's definitely a good play here. Like, I would have no argument with anyone who wanted to rank him at the top of that list of guys we talked about. I think he belongs right in there. So I think he's a good play. Just real quick on Oubre. I hate playing a chalky Oubre, but he's playing well right now, and his price is down. Like, his average salary this season is close to 5,900, and that's in a role like with Joel Embiid and Maxey. So I mean, I think you just play him, even though it's Kelly Oubre. And, he's been a very tantalizing guy throughout his entire career, flashes of upside and then sucking. But I think you just play Oubre and Payne. And Harris looks good, but I don't know how much better he looks than DeRozan, Kuzma, Garland, Kobe White, all of them.
Yeah. He's just a guy that I'm very happy to be 2x the field on him.
Sure.
Like if he's 11, I'm really, really happy to have 22. That's just the way that I sort of am looking at him, because when push comes to shove, like this is sort of his team. I mean, he's probably the longest tenured Sixer that's playing as well. Like
he is. Okay, I'll counter this and ask your opinion on this. On the other side of this game, I think it's even more so Jaren Jackson's team, because that team's even more decimated.
Oh,
Harris or Jackson here.
It's like asking me to choose between children, man. You know how much I've been on Triple J lately. Yeah, they're same price, better position for Tobias Harris. It's Triple J for me. Not by a mile or anything, but he's a better per minute performer. We're talking about a guy with a 34% usage rate when all of those other key dudes are off the floor. There's just and the defensive stats in particular. There's a much bigger ceiling to me for Triple J than there is for Harris. I just feel a lot safer with Tobias Harris because he's got a little bit more help, I think.
Yeah, at home. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they are like, 5.5-point favorites, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I guess for me, it's just a product of there being a lot of good plays on this slate. Even right now, before we get news, Jarrett Allen, Kelly Oubre, Cam Payne, and Chris Dunn are all pulling a ton of ownership. But then after that, a lot of guys are getting some sort of love,
It's going to be a weird slate. This one's a little easier, though. Clippers are 7-point favorites in Houston, 222 total. 15% ownership coming into Kawhi Leonard. Nobody else getting any love. Basically the same story on FanDuel. I got to 15% of Kawhi Leonard and essentially nothing else. Are you seeing anything here for the Clippers?
I am not. I mean, Kawhi, honestly, Kawhi looks more like the 7,700 guys than he does 8,700. Like, don't get me wrong. If he were 7,700, I think he would look the best of that group we talked about, but he's not. He's 1,000 more. So, no, I'd rather play one of those other guys we talked about. The Clippers are not a team I'm overly excited about getting to here. They're priced where they should be, if not a little expensive, and they're healthy.
I have one share of Zoo, one share of Harden, one share of Paul George.
Yeah.
The Houston side is sort of the same, but I'm running it back with my boy, trying to do it again. Alperen Sengun, 8K, center only, 15% owned, 32% here. I think he's just sort of under projected across the board. And while I don't love him in the spot as much as I liked him yesterday, I'm just happy to run that back. I also am not getting to anything else from Houston other than Jabari Smith over points, rebounds, and assists on Prize Picks. You should be watching that video. We won yesterday.
It is interesting that Sengun dropped 80-some fantasy points and that his price dropped to 8,200 and is getting less love than Nikola Vucevic. Like, what? That one there doesn't seem right to me. No. I probably won't play either of them, to be quite honest with you. If I were, though, I would play Sengun over Vooch here. Especially at lower ownership. Like, I get it. Vooch projects for a couple more fantasy points, but why?
Well, if it helps, he doesn't for me.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, I think our projections are a little bit low on Sengun and high on Vooch.
And it's not that Vooch doesn't look good here against Utah. I mean, Utah depleted, not a great front court. Like, I like Vooch too. I just prefer Sengun.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying as well. I mean, there's a reason Vooch stands out in the boom bust tool. It's just interesting to see him $100 more than Sengun now, also getting more ownership.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Like, last 30 days, 1.15 fantasy points per minute for Vooch. For Sengun, 1.29. Now, Vooch is going to play more than Sengun, or at least you should be expecting it. Vooch is out there for a couple extra minutes for sure, but all that does to me is just like sort of bring them closer together. But 50, you're looking for 50 out of Sengun. I'm happy for him to run that back again today.
For sure. Did you see that tweet about Vucevic's career arc? Because I know you're a big Vucevic hater. I almost tagged you in it, but I forgot to. Like, as soon as he got traded, shit just started going right downhill.
It's it's like they drew an X on the line. It's just like a roller coaster straight down.
Yeah.
Great piece of business by the Orlando Magic on that one.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Anything else for Houston?
No, this is not an appealing fantasy game when we've got the Utahs and Phillies and Clevelands of the world. So, no.
Guys, BetMGM is the sponsor. You see the banner at the top of the screen. I'm excited to take advantage of the BetMGM offer. If you're in a legal betting state, you should do this too. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. You got to click the link in chat or the one in the description. Sign up. Minimum deposit's $10. You bet $5, you get three $50 bonus bets. Worst case scenario, you lose your $5 bet and your bonus bets, but you've only lost $5 of your own money. You win one of those bonus bets and you're already looking at an extra $100 in your bankroll. You hit a second one and you could be up over 200 or 300 depending on the odds that you're taking. This is a great way to get yourself started at BetMGM. You could use our odds shopper tool to really help you out if you want to. Plenty of additional bets. The legal age for gambling in most states is 21 or over. You or someone you know have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. But also, please sign up using the links in the description or in chat. All right, we go to Chicago. 4-point favorites in Utah, 224 total. Got about 15 to 20% ownership on Kobe White, DeRozan, and Vooch. Around 10 for Dosunmu and Caruso. These starters just play massive minutes. And they're running into a Utah team that is very depleted. What do you like from Chicago?
Chicago continues to look good. We talked about Vooch, and I was saying I like Sengun more, but the tools would say otherwise. And Vooch looks really, really good here. DeRozan belongs right in that group of guys we've talked about. We've mentioned him a couple times already. It's really hard to decipher between him, Harris, Kuzma, Jaren Jackson, bunch of other guys I'm forgetting that are right in that mix. Kobe White, right in like the Darius Garland group. He's right in that DeRozan mix. So he's coming off a monster game against Sacramento. Chicago looks really good here. Great matchup. We're definitely going to be getting to Utah. They're priced a little bit cheap, probably for their median projection and their upside. So they just look good all the way around.
Yeah. I got 19% of Kobe White. That's my most exposed guy. 15% of DeRozan. So right with the field there. And then here's like the very obvious thing that no one will be surprised by. Is Nikola Vucevic a good play today? Yes, I think he is. I have 9%. He's 20% owned. I basically just took the Vooch exposure and tossed it onto Alperen Sengun. I chose between the two instead of splitting the difference between both of them. Totally fine by me. Got to draw some lines somewhere. Yeah. It appears I'm drawing that line as Sengun over Vooch.
And for me, I'm playing Jared Allen, and I don't know if I'll play one of these guys. So we talked about it. I prefer Sengun, but I totally understand. You made all the points. I mean, great matchup. Jazz are depleted, especially inside. Vooch is probably going to play a little bit more. He's been good. So I see nothing wrong with any of the three Bulls guys.
Same.
My order would be Kobe White, Vooch, just because of Jared Allen, and then DeRozan, but they're all really close, I think.
I agree. I barely have them separated relative to salary. Like they just all look very, very similar. The only problem for me for Vooch is there's Allen, there's Sengun, there cheap value centers could be popping up. We have Sabonis and AD in the late night hammer, and obviously both of those guys could lead the slate in scoring. So lots of center quality today.
Yeah, center's loaded. I mean, you just look at the boom bust tool. 3 of the top 6 guys are centers, and then Sengun and Sabonis. So Chet Holmgren, who you talked about earlier,
And then Dosunmu's pulling 10% ownership. He's 10% optimal. Like he's playing 37, 38 minutes a night. He's up to 6K, which is not the most desirable price tag in the world. But in this matchup against Utah, I don't have any problem getting to him.
I don't either. Like, I think he's fine. It's just, I think more of a multi-entry type play. Like if I were playing 150, I would certainly get to him. He's really a hard guy to be like, okay, I'm building around Sunmu on this slate, but that's not to say anything bad about him at all.
Now the Utah side, We've had no Laurie Markkinen and no Walker Kessler for the past couple games. Taylor Hendricks got hurt last time out. He's out. And we've already ruled out Keontae George for illness, which means 52% ownership coming into a 4K Chris Dunn. 30% coming into Luka Samanic, who got the start last time out. We've got 18 coming into John Collins, another 12 to Colin Sexton, scattered amounts to everybody else. Let's start with Chris Dunn. Is this the easiest option to grab on the Jazz?
I am a huge Chris Dunn stan in real life. So for me, yes.
Okay.
I've loved this dude ever since his Providence days. I don't know why. I've always been a huge fan. Putting that aside, yeah. I mean, shooting guard eligible is the big thing here. If he were only point guard eligible, he would be much lower in the boom bust tool, but he's not. 45% chance of being optimal here, 50% ownership. I'm fine with it. I mean, even with these chalky guys, like let's say you play Payne, Dunn, Allen, and Oubre, there's so many ways to get different with your other 4 spots. Not worried about it. He doesn't look quite as good of a play as Payne does to me because of what you said, that Philly just doesn't have other guys to handle the ball. And I like Jarrett Allen slightly more, but he's right there with those guys. I think he looks elite.
I got 87%. Don't really see any mechanism to skip him. Assuming he starts, they could start THT, at which point you're going to want to get to a bunch of him at shooting guard, small forward, and great per minute rates. But I think no matter what, Chris Dunn is just going to be out. Like, they don't have enough defense. He is going to be, I think, their front court defense that's pulling a lot of, like, they got enough of Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton to get some shots up. I think Dunn's going to be out there doing a lot of dirty work. I think those minutes just have to be there. So very happy to get to Dunn. How do you want to handle Luka Samanic, or as I like to call him, Utah's Dean Wade?
I like him more than Dean Wade. I mean, projected for more fantasy points, a little bit higher ownership, but also a higher optimal percentage. I think those guys, Samanic, Niang, Wade, are peas in a pod. Like, choosing between them is almost a fool's errand. But I like having the late exposure in case we get something funky. I think THT is basically the same price as him. So that gives him a boost. He looks like those other guys, but maybe a little bit of a stronger play for me. But if you said you felt otherwise, I wouldn't argue with that,
Yeah, 52% of my lineups for Samanic. Again, it's just this cheap value option. I would imagine he's starting. I can't, if they started him last game, it seems like they're going to start him again in this spot. So if you're giving him any sort of real minutes, the fact that he's power forward 3,500, he's just really difficult to get away from. I like that value. What do you do with the rest of Utah, though? Sexton, 11% optimal, 12% owned. Collins, 15 and 18. Clarkson, 10 and 12. I don't think anybody just immediately stands out. I think the only thing that would really change up the game is if we got THT starting.
Yeah, same. Just because their prices have risen and they're not facing the Wizards. So now they're facing the Bulls at higher price tags. It's a price game.
Yeah. I got them right around the field on Collins. I'm right at the field on Sexton. I'm actually a little bit lighter on Jordan Clarkson again today, which is so weird because I've been very heavy on him lately. 24% usage, 29% assist rate, but just sort of coming in and around the field. It's the Chris Dunn and Luka Samanic show for me.
Yeah, I mean, that $6,800 price tag for Clarkson is a little bit tough to swallow, not going to lie.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to touch on here for the Jazz?
No, I think just look out for the starting lineup, but that's all.
This one's pretty easy because we don't have anything to talk about. The Milwaukee Bucks are 3-point dogs in Golden State, 227 total. Giannis is questionable. If he's in, he's 8% optimal and 11% owned. No one else has a number in optimal rate or ownership higher than 3. Milwaukee is basically impossible to get to if Giannis is in, other than Giannis. And even then, I'm not even getting to much Giannis. I took his under on Prize Picks too. How do you feel about Giannis? And if he's out, who stands out most to you?
I don't like Milwaukee if he's in. I don't love Giannis here. I mean, it's just a pricing thing. Of course, it's Giannis. You can always play him, but I just don't think allocating 11-5 on him is the smartest route to go tonight. If he's out, Dame and Portis become 2 of the top 5 plays on the slate, probably. Right in line with the Jarrett Allens of the world. You could argue even better, but right in line for me. So I think that if we don't get the Giannis news, and I said this before the show, like, seeing that Giannis was present at shoot around is encouraging. But what the hell does that really mean? Like, was he present dunking from the 3-point line, or was he, laying on the sidelines? Who the hell knows?
Did he do anything? Just like maybe add
Right.
that little nugget of information. I think Pat Bev would certainly look interesting as well at 4K,
Yeah.
point guard, shooting guard. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a spot start again. We don't know it's coming, but yeah, we can get to Milwaukee if Giannis is out, but if he's in, it's kind of Giannis or bust. Golden State, they're getting Andrew Wiggins back. They're getting Brandon Pajemski back, and they're getting nothing else. 3% ownership is the highest owned dude. 7% optimal to Steph is the highest optimal. I have 1 share of Draymond and 1 share of Steph. I think Golden State is the hardest team to get to, and the ownership tends to agree. They are 7% owned. That is the lowest mark by a mile.
I think that it's a really good spot for Golden State. So, like, Steph Curry is basically the same play as DeJounte Murray for me. Like, both guys with big upside that aren't getting love. I wrote up Draymond Green as a contrarian play today. I could see these Warriors main guys playing big minutes tonight, coming off that Boston game in another big time spot against Milwaukee. And the other thing that having Golden State does, it gives you Milwaukee exposure or the potential to get to Milwaukee if Giannis is out. So Golden State is intriguing to me here, but they don't like stand out as build around options at all.
Since February 22nd, only one guy for the Warriors has gotten to 33 minutes in a game. That's in the past 7 games. That was Lester Quinones in their most recent game. Probably would have took you a couple of minutes to get to him before you started saying, oh, well, it was Steph, Kuminga, Clay, Draymond, Moody. Now, all of those answers would have been incorrect.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would have gotten there, to be honest.
Guys, I got a promo code for you. Should be really easy to remember. It's one of the 2 best rookies in the league. The code is Wemby. You can get 50% off your first payment of our Sims Max weekly package. It's a $30 package now. It's normally $60 a week. You get it for $30 if you use the promo code Wemby. I think this is the perfect way for someone that wants to check out the Sims tool to do so. We're only advertising this on our live shows. You're not going to see this code popping up anywhere else. But if you sign up and get this, you get full access to our contest generator, the full Max Sims tool, all of the data on the back end and premium Discord. $30. We're talking about, a little over $4 a day. But for 7 days, you get to test out a tool that we're obviously been showing you guys in Hall of Fame videos and stuff. It's smashing across the board. Ask Sean Jeezy how it's going. Ask the boss man, Tom Kennedy. Ask Greg how it's going. He's got 2 wins this year. It's been a good year. 1-800-EDDIE. Talk to Eddie Lai. Been going pretty well for him as well. If you want to check out the Sims tool, $30 for your first week, 50% off using the promo code Wemby. 2 games to go. Not a lot to say for this one. OKC, 2 touchdown favorites in Portland, 224 total. It's basically the same situation as it always is. 8 to 10% optimal and ownership on the 5 starters. No chance to go to anybody else. No priorities, but you can pick any one of those guys and you'll feel fine. Don't mind getting to Shea. Don't mind getting to Chet. But I don't have a lot of anything here from Oklahoma City. I think they can strangle Portland and not really have to be that good offensively.
Yeah, same. It does make me intrigued with Chet just because this is the kind of game script where he can just dominate. Turnovers from Portland, block shots, missed shots, rebounds. But they're priced where they should be. So no priorities at all from OKC. But another team where if I got some, I wouldn't be mad about it. I mean, they've got really good players. Surprise.
Yeah, I've got like 5% of basically all of them. Works for me. Portland. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful. Tamani Kamara is questionable. Jeremy Grant's questionable. Matisse Thybulle's questionable. Only guy getting any love is 6% ownership to Anthony Simons. I actually have 13%. I hate this spot for him. But it's really hard to talk about Portland right now. We could be live to swapping to some Jabari Walker. I know chat's probably touching themselves to Ashton Higgins at this point in time. You should ignore him and play Delano Banton, the actual guy that you should get to from Portland if these guys end up out. Something could go crazy here. You could potentially get to Chris Murray if he has to play, 38 minutes if those three guys are out. It's just hard to talk about it right now.
Yeah, and Simons would be the guy for me, but man, I don't know how you get to Simons in like limited lineups at 8,200 on this slate. Like, yeah, if I'm multi-entering, sure, he's really good and he's got a 7% chance of being optimal, but he is far from like a guy I want to build around it and shorter entry type stuff.
Yeah. I got to 13%. I think it's just because he's 6% owned, but like,
yeah,
I clearly hate this spot.
Yeah, it sucks. But again, he showed it last time out against Minnesota. Like, if they're competitive, it will probably be because of him.
I didn't think that he had the ability to do that against Minnesota either. So it's
right,
sort of the same vibe. Look, that's exactly what he is. Like, I don't want to say that he's a one-trick pony because I don't want to undersell him here. Like, he's better than that, but he is so primarily a guy that's just going to get shots up. If you're there on the day where the buckets are falling, like he's a legitimate bucket. But
Simons or Garland
for today?
No,
or overall?
Overall.
Okay, so like basketball.
Right.
It's probably Garland because I think he's just going to be a better option defensively. It's close.
Yeah, I think they're definitely in the same tier.
I lean Garland. I'm going to pull it up on Darko quickly just to see. Darko has Garland as a 1+1.9 player, 2.2 offensive plus minus. And then Simons is, oh, wow. Not close. Garland by a mile. Negative 1.2 plus minus on Simons. 0.6 offensive plus minus. So way, 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 way ahead for Darius Garland. Not what I was expecting.
Same. And this doesn't change that, but Portland is so dearth of talent. Like, you wonder what Simons would be like if he had better players around him consistently.
He's shooting 54% at the rim this year. That's 9th percentile. And then he's at a year where he was 43% first percentile, 55%, 19th. Like, he's never been able to really get to the rim. Now, not that, like, I don't want to oversell that for Garland. Garland's basically the same situation. They're both undersized, so like getting to the rim is never going to be an easy task for them. Yeah, I would have thought Simons looked better. He's having a really good year, 57% true shooting on 28% usage for a team that like doesn't really have any help for him. But yeah, give me Garland.
Yeah, I think same, but I still think it's maybe a little closer than those numbers suggest. Just
I'd be interested to see Simons like dropped into Orlando with a bunch of defensive talent behind him. Similar story for Garland.
Same.
Guys, keep your eyes peeled on that Portland game. That news is paramount for the late part of the slate, because if you get it at 9:30, we still have 3 games from 10 to 10:30. So you're going to be able to swap to some Portland stuff. Sacramento Kings, final game. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. If you want to watch live before lock, make sure you unlock that show. The screen will go black if you don't hit the thumbs up. 2.5-point dogs in Los Angeles. 239 total. Sacramento at full strength like they normally are. We know what we're getting out of these guys. Call it 10% owned to Fox, 10% ownership to Sabonis. Basically nothing else coming in. 15% optimal rate for De'Aaron Fox. How are you feeling about Fox here?
I like him. He looks really good here. I think he looks a step above the Garlands of the world. He's more expensive though, so that brings him back down to like that range. He's been really, really good. He's certainly off that cold streak he was on. So I got no problems getting to him here in a really good spot against the Lakers. This slate is weird because there's a lot of good plays early, but it's also the type of slate where if you told me you were backloading and just waiting for news and playing like just campaign and Allen or whatever, I don't think that's a bad strategy. You might get screwed, but it's another one of these $4 100,000 people tournaments. Like, what happens if we get Giannis and all the Portland guys out or whatever it might be?
Yeah. I'm 2xing Sabonis right now, and I'm 2xing Fox, and I'm very, very happy to be getting those 2 sets of exposures.
I think you said it best with Sabonis earlier. Like, he just has the ability to break the slate. Any slate he's on, especially when we don't have Luka, Jokic, and maybe not Giannis.
Like, he's very live for like 25, 20, and 10 tonight.
I think he's leading the NBA in triple doubles.
I think he is too. He should try leading the league in some defensive stats so Sacramento could be better. I wonder if he has ever thought about that. But kudos to his offensive ability. The big Russell Westbrook of the league. Lucky him.
He is sensational offensively.
Yeah, no disagreement there. I would just never want him to be the center on my basketball team because I would want to win.
Yeah.
Anything else? I love talking my shit on Sabonis.
Yeah, you hate Sabonis.
I hate the way
discourse
that
around him.
Yeah. I have no issue with him. He's offensively, incredibly talented. Defensively, an incredible liability.
I think that's just what he is. And yeah, you're right. A lot of casuals just think he's better because the triple doubles and all that when we're grinding these numbers every day. So I'm with you.
14% ownership to Anthony Davis, basically the same for LeBron James. Single digits for everybody else. Would you rather have AD or Sabonis today?
That's a really good question. Either. I think they look. The AD or Sabonis question is similar to the Kuzma, DeRozan, Jaren Jackson question. They both look really good. Davis projects for 53.5 fantasy points. Sabonis projects for 52.5. Davis is cheaper, so I like Davis more. Sabonis is getting half the ownership, so I like that more. Now neither of them are coming in as high owned, so probably give me Davis there, but I don't think it's as far apart as our boom bust would indicate personally.
I'm getting them both. As of right now, I have 26% of AD. I still have 15% of LeBron. It's just really easy to get any of these payups at the field level because we have unlimited salary right now. So I really like getting these payup options in these late games just because it increases my flexibility for any swaps that I have to make post 7:30.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Do you want to get to anything else from the Lakers?
No, when they're healthy, it's Bron or AD. I mean, Bron even right now at 9,800 is really hard to build around tonight. It's LeBron James, so always in play, but not a building block for me.
Well, 8 games up, 8 games down. Weird slate. Still have a bunch of news to wait on. Live Before Lock will be able to help you out with any of the news that pops up in the next hour. And if we get any for the later games, you'll catch some of that on Playback. We did get a little bit of news about 10 minutes ago that I forgot to mention. Jabari Smith is available. Jeff Green is out. Not sure that matters all that much. Probably good for Jabari Smith. You just kind of get like Jock Landale as a couple extra minutes of backup center.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not bad for Jabari Smith, but Jeff Green being out doesn't move the needle for me on this particular slate.
Well, that's going to do it, folks. Stick around. Stay on this stream. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next.
We're back, baby. Another edition of the Stochastic Hall of Fame. We're inducting you fine people into it and giving away a ton of Stochastic memberships along the way. All you got to do to get involved, to get your free month, any Stochastic package of your choice up to $200, is download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. If you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're in. Let's get it started. Michael Diaz. Good night despite missing lock. I assume live before lock. Over 5K in wins. Have a great All-Star weekend, everybody. And let's get on to the second half, followed by Ben P. I love this one. I was a skeptic when I had to switch from my usual process to the Stochastic Sims, but I'm officially all in. If you're not a pro and not using this tool, you're paying the rake. Just an awesome, awesome night from Ben P. Shout out to Ben and congrats on the wins. Then our own Tom Kennedy, just on an absolute tear of late. talking about Ben. It's been awesome to get these messages from Ben and everyone else. We knew our Sims were the future, but caught a lot of flack for forcing, in quotes, people to use it. See our users loving the new process. Taking down tournament after tournament this year has been incredible. Got a couple of my own with the tools this past weekend and Thursday. Yeah, a couple would be an understatement. $200,000 wins for Tom. And our friend Jorge, just right behind the big boss. This Sims tool should receive an award because the tools and people behind it are just the best in the market. Another $3,000 win for Jorge on a heater of his own lately. Dave DeMattis, Sims tool for the win. Payout isn't huge, but I'll absolutely take it in a field of 35,000 entries. Thanks for all you guys do. It's stochastic, and keep up the great work. And Sean Geezy back at it again. Actually, matter of fact, Jordan and I had deleted a few of Sean's over the past couple of weeks just because there were so many of them and we didn't have room, and he's up here every week. But second and fourth in the mini-max tonight. If only Fox could have played final 2 minutes. Shout out to the stochastic team. Sean keeps rolling. Travis, Woolston, EMAC. How about the personal shout out to EMAC? EMAC, been a stochastic listener for many years. Your info helped me ship 50K last night. A 50K shout out to EMAC. Shout out to Travis as well. PG18, second showdown win in 2 weeks. You weren't kidding, Lavi. The Sims tools crushed the showdown slates. Best tool in the business, $2,400 takedown for PG or Poker God 18. And Tim in Milford. Hey, Tim in Milford. At Stochastic, let's go. $1,000 win in the high five for Tim. And Dave Oliver back, Elway's Army. $2,800 win. Unbeatable content matched with Sims and live show. You guys are the best. Thank you again. Congrats, Dave. Mike Sobey, it was a good day at Riv. $10,000, second place in the Eagle to Mike. And then it's Jay Burke, $200 right there. Simple at Stochastic HOF. The Stochastic Avatar, second place as well. And Brent Lindsay, not a huge win, but I'll take it. $300, second in the end, one. Followed by Mike. Again, second place, Iron Mike 53. Let's go at Stochastic. We got any more? Brandon Muller, here we go. We did it at Stochastic HOF. First place, $166. That'll do it. Remember, you want to get involved, you want to get inducted, get your free month of any Stochastic Sims package you want up to $200. Just download the avatar, tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF if you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. And we'll see you guys back here for the next one.
Just one of those days.
All right, King Eric.
Oh my God, get over yourself.
What is happening, everybody? It's time for another NBA Live Before Lock show. So if you can do us a favor as you're watching, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, after we are done here at 7 p.m. Eastern time when the slate locks, we're going to be heading right on over to Playback. The show doesn't stop. It continues just on another platform over at Playback. And of course, Live Before Lock also simulcast over on Playback. So check out our shows there. We've been having a lot of fun, sweating the slates late night. And also, we've been leaving the games on for the entire night. So myself and Jordan, we've been hanging out and chat a little bit at night. And we've had people sitting in there until the end of slates watching games. So if you guys want to sweat out with us and do all the business, like sweat out bets and all that kind of good stuff, check out Playback after the show ends. We're sponsored here by BetMGM. We're talking more about them as we go. Eric, how are you doing today?
Doing splendid. Excited for some meaningful golf over the weekend. We've got the Arnold Palmer. I saw that you did the Sims tool breakdown over on Twitter, so go check that out from Greg. Firing some stuff up over there. I was playing around with that before we got on this show, was starting to put together my nukes and pukes where I'm talking about guys that I want to be rostering here for the Arnold Palmer. And then next week is really when it gets exciting. We get the Players Championship. Kind of feels like always the kickoff event for golf, for casuals jumping into the golf streets. So check out some of our content for that. Check out the Sims tool, because again, I know Greg's had a lot of success with it. I've had a decent amount of success with it so far. I've made a couple of adjustments that have really screwed myself here lately. So going to be doing a little bit more of a let it run situation with the Sims tool this weekend. Very, very excited for some PGA stuff, but obviously, you know, NBA, that's every day. That's the everyday grind for us right now. Pretty good grind to have.
And one thing related to the Sims, I already see questions are starting to come in, a very pressing one in Discord, which we're going to be getting to in a second. First, though, I want to let you guys know, if you are using the Sims tool tonight for the DraftKings $4 150 max tournament that has what is like 108,000 total entries in it, I've been testing it around, playing around with a lot of stuff. Here's what you want to do on these $4 contests with 150 max. The field is just not quite as sharp. When you're building your contest in the contest generator, put it on the setting in between marquee and low stakes. That's going to give you more accurate ownership projections because the field just not quite as sharp. So, for instance, one of the injury situations that could potentially break during the show, a massive one, Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable to play in the first game. If he is out and Goga starts, his ownership is going to be significant, but he is not going to be nearly as popular in the $4 he would be if this was the $15 main slate. So that's one of the reasons when you're building your lineups in the contest generator, I strongly suggest you set it on the setting in between marquee and low stakes. That's going to be the best ownership projections possible there.
I've been saying that here lately. That's been like the big note I've given people is that I've done some back testing too, because I've been able to, you know, run like, hey, I'll run 50 in this and 50 in that. I've done that a lot on weekends, on Saturdays, normally my day off, but I've been trying to test around like what settings I really, really like for this $4. I'm right with you. I like the in-between between the low stakes and the marquee. Think that it gives you a nice blend, gets a little bit more contrarian than your typical $15 lineups.
And one other thing too, before we start here, if you guys have any questions for us, don't forget, if you're in our Discord channel, at me, I already see one that's come in here. And then I also wanted to ask Jordan, because there's a couple of super chats that are sitting here. Jordan, were any of these answered on the last show or not? None of them.
Absolutely not.
Should have figured as much. But most importantly, Jordan, I need you to play an animation. Kenny Wayne wants to know who is the exotic play of the night. I want to make sure we hit it at the top so we could bring the animation back to Jordan play. There's nothing that would make my day better. Possible. Exotic play of the night. Eric, we still do have some injury situations that could be occurring throughout the show. We've got players who are questionable, include Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jeremy Grant, Jaren Jackson Jr. is questionable. We've got actually other guys from the Blazers as well. Chumani Kamara is questionable. Matisse Thybulle is questionable. Of course, Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. But Eric, who is the exotic play of the night that you are building around that you cannot wait to tell the people about? Hit us with it. Your turn. Hit us with it. The people are on the edge of their seat. You're building a lot of suspense. That's good, though.
Luka Samanic.
Yeah, Luka Samanic is a good one. I hate to
I hate
bring him
you.
in. Yeah, go ahead.
I just hate you. I just wanted you kind of like couldn't finish your thoughts. So today, Junior. So I thought I'd let you know.
What is the actual? So I want to go with George Niang here. The holdup, though, is I'm not actually sure of his background, but I'm gonna go with George Niang. I know
he's an Iowa Stater. So okay, stop it. George Niang is my boy. I don't actually know. Oh, that's actually a good one.
It's a hard one.
That is a tough one, actually. I've literally watched him play basketball, 4 years in college, and then paid probably more attention than most to his Sixers to Cavs career. So,
do you see the hesitation?
I don't know. I do. I actually do now.
So the other thing too, he spells his name Georges with an S, which kind of indicate like that's exotic spelling of a name. So I'm going with George Niang here. I think a lot of the field is going to be going towards Dean Wade, which I get. We saw him have a really big game after Evan Mobley got hurt, but we know Dean Wade is not necessarily
the best. Sucks.
Yeah. So Dean Wade also not the best fantasy producer in the world. I'm fine with getting to him, but I think George Niang is a really good pivot off of Dean Wade as well, because if Niang is knocking down shots, he could cut into some of those Dean Wade minutes. I like him as a leverage option. So we're getting some leverage from our exotic play of the night in George Niang here. So George Niang for me, Luka Samanic from Eric. As always, good work on that one, Eric. Let's start getting into the super chats here. Got a few of them waiting for us, starting with Merrill Peak. And Merrill Peak has a question about Sam Merrill. He wants to know Sam Merrill or Jalen Suggs tonight, Eric.
I hated Sam Merrill yesterday. I'm probably going to hate him again today. Who was the other person?
It's Jalen Suggs or Sam Merrill.
Definitely Jalen Suggs for me. So I'm all aboard the Jalen Suggs train on Beautiful on Prize Picks, but as I'm looking at this, 5,300 on DK. Yeah, no, it would actually, sadly, ridiculously be Sam Merrill, but probably don't play either on DraftKings today.
Yeah, so if it's he has to 1v1. I have Sam Merrill in.
They're $1,000 apart.
Yeah, I have more exposure to Sam Merrill because he's quite a bit cheaper and he's better position eligibility.
And we assume he's starting.
Yeah, so Sam Merrill. I mean, if price doesn't matter, the answer is going to be Jalen Suggs, particularly if Wendell Carter Jr. is out. But neither of them are really priorities for me tonight. But Suggs, if it's one or the other.
Nah.
Corey Shea wants to know top GPP plays at each position for DK. Let's dive into it. So subject to change, obviously, if we do end up getting any more breaking news that comes out over the course of the show. The one that's most impactful that I assume is going to come out sooner rather than later is Wendell Carter Jr. One thing I want to ask you quick before we break this down is your assumption that Wendell Carter plays, sits, or coin flip?
I would assume he plays.
I'm going.
It's closer to a coin flip.
Yeah, I don't have a great read on it. It's coin flip to me. I didn't have to make any kind of reservations in my lineups for it because it's the first game on the slate. It's locking at 7 p.m. Orlando, Washington. So we're going to know before the slate actually tips off. So it's not like I made any kind of adjustments for it. I will tell you this, Goga's going to be in a shit ton of my lineups if Wendell Carter Jr. is out and Goga
sure is. I will probably lock him in the event that he starts.
Who's your favorite overall point guard GPP play? And you could take this as player you have the most exposure to at the position, a low-owned player you like, player most overweight to. Point guard. Who's your favorite GPP play point guard? Damian
Lillard, not close.
So you are assuming then that Giannis does not play?
I'm not even assuming that Giannis is going to be out. You give me 2% Damian Lillard, 3% Damian Lillard on an 8-game slate where we could have some extra value other places, I'm going to probably do it. And obviously, Milwaukee, they haven't figured it out by any means, but Damian Lillard has really looked better here in spots where he's had to play the relief card. Last time out against the Clippers, that was a really good win. And it was sparked by Damian Lillard putting up 41 points and having Giannis say that it's his team, and maybe Giannis plays and is somewhat limited. I'm not saying that that's like a foregone conclusion, but he could play 32, 33 minutes, and then you're looking at a little extra from Dame. He gets Steph Curry on the other side of things. Obviously, they'll throw different looks at him, try to make it difficult on him, but This game is one that, yeah, we've got this late night window with 3 games at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We don't get this a ton on DraftKings FanDuel anymore, where sometimes they omit these evening games. They're there tonight, and there's a lot of maneuverability I think you have in that evening window. Oklahoma City, Portland, I think there's some intriguing pieces that I might get over the field on here based on how news comes out with Wendell Carter Jr. And then Sacramento, LA, obviously that game should be moving. So I like getting to Dame at 2-3%. He won't be nuke of the night. He won't be in like 30% of my lineups, but I currently have 18% of him, which is a massive stand.
I figure out how I want to. I mean, assuming he starts, I'm gonna have a ton of exposure to Campaign again, just as they did yesterday. Yep. That went relatively well, but
I think Campaign's as close to like a lock button, even at 4,100 as you'll get, because there's no Kyle Lowry. Like, who else are they going to put out there? Unless you think Ricky Council, not Judy, the fourth, Ricky Council, or whomever else. Buddy Hield might get enacted into some. Oh, we got Wendell out. Okay,
Wendell Carter Jr. is out, which means what, Eric? It means we've got another exotic play opening up here in Goga. Are you assuming Goga starts, by the way?
Yeah, I am. And if he does, here's the thing. Mo Wagner is a good tournament play. I like Mo Wagner for tournaments for sure. And he's power forward eligible, which is awfully intriguing. Yeah, we got Goga starting already. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Magic. Make our lives easy.
That was quick. Yeah, starting lineup for the Magic. It is Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paulo Banchero, and Goga Bitadze for tonight's slate. So there we have the starting lineup there for the Magic. So we'll talk about that in a second here. But I mean, I don't really have too much to add other than just jam Goga. There's nothing else that really changes about the situation. Just play a bunch of Goga.
It's like a Pokemon. Goga, Goga. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Let's go through the rest of our top plays at each spot here. Point guard, yeah, I'm going to answer Campaign. He's going to be in almost all my lineups. Goga's going to be in almost all my lineups as well. So I'm going to be going with him as my favorite point guard option. Shooting guard. Who's your favorite player to get to at shooting guard in tournaments?
I had one that was potentially nuke of the night that I'll keep just for now because I'm split between 2 people for nuke of the night. For tournaments, I think Josh Giddey is very intriguing.
Okay, I am going to. So here's my conundrum at the spot.
Okay,
I only have 2 players at shooting guard that I have more than 15% exposure to right now. That is Chris Dunn and Kelly Oubre. They're both very chalky. So I'll give some more contrarian answers at other spots, but I don't want to give out somebody who I'm not actually playing a significant amount of while we're doing this exercise. So,
that's nice of you to not mislead the people.
I mean, the answer is Chris Dunn. He is super popular, but he's a guy who I have a shit ton of exposure to at shooting guard. So
as you should.
I'll give some more contrarian answers at other spots. Small forward, who's your guy here?
It's kind of split for me here too for tournaments. Again, you said tournaments, not our highest owned at the position. So Kelly Oubre is my highest owned at the position. I think he's going to be that way for a lot of people. My favorite guy for tournaments is George Niang.
Yep, same. So that's my answer here. I gave him out as well as the exotic play. There was some
what's different between him and Dean Wade? Period. End of story. It's the same dude.
Hey, we see it the same way. That was how I was breaking it down before. So Niang for both of us at small forward, power forward. What do you got as a power forward spot?
Again, Luka Samanic, highest owned. Giannis Antetokounmpo, favorite tournament play.
I am going with Jaren Jackson Jr. here. Now, the caveat being is that he's questionable. If he's ruled out, then don't like him. But he's not projected for all that much ownership, and there's ridiculous upside in Triple J. Another thing, too, is if he plays, there is no reason for him to play limited, in my opinion. This team is so far out of the playoff race. It's either Jaren Jackson is 100% and he plays, or he's not and he sits. I don't even think there's a chance that he's 98% healthy and plays. So if he's totally good to go, if he's out there, I don't think there's any kind of restrictions, and the field doesn't really appear
also,
to be.
Also, who does Philly have besides Nicholas Batum who could do anything against him? Like, Batum played a lot of minutes yesterday from what I remember. Let me pull this up here. He played 32 yesterday. It's a back-to-back. I don't really think Philly has a reason to have Nicholas Batum out there for 32, 34 minutes. I mean, I guess they could just not care. I suppose that's an option as well. But, like, Paul Reed, Mo Bamba, like, good luck. Jaren Jackson Jr. should be the best basketball player on the floor, although obviously, there are times when you don't want him to be your number one because he takes some of the worst shots you've ever seen.
Next spot here is going to be the center position. And given the most recent news, I don't know how I answer anybody other than Goga.
It is Goga as the best play. Is there like an intriguing center play? Because again, there's another guy that I'm kind of split. I said there's two guys, one at shooting guard, one at center that I'm considering for Nuke of the night. Do you have like somebody else that you like at center?
So I'm going to rerun lineups here, and I'm going to be getting to so much of Goga that I just don't envision myself getting to very much of any other center, unless it's somebody who's power forward eligibility.
Yeah, I'm going to get 100% more than likely of Goga as I'm running stuff here now. But Chet Holmgren is there at 7,600. The only reason the price came down is they had a back-to-back and looked like complete shit. So Chet or Giddey, one of those two is going to end up being your Nuke of the night. I think OKC getting exposure to that evening window where, again, I think Giannis plays, but in the event that he doesn't, I can swap things around and make stuff work. There are 4 games. Half of your slate exists at 9 p.m. Eastern time and after, which I think is really, really fun. And everybody is jamming value. You should be jamming Goga now, but Cleveland value is going to be pretty thin for me outside of Niang, somebody that I'm going to be getting to over the field for sure, up against Atlanta. The other guys, again, just a little bit overowned. I get that it's not really chasey when you're taking on Atlanta coming off of facing Boston at home, but I do have a lot of interest in Samanic, just overloading my lineups there and then trying to like play the swap game later on.
Let's get to the next super chat. But first, shout out to BetMGM sponsoring the show today. If you guys have not checked out BetMGM, particularly if you're living in the state of North Carolina, which sports betting, it is legal now as of the start of the month, but it doesn't go live until next week. And if you pre-register at BetMGM using the link that we have below, if you're living in North Carolina, all you have to do is make an account using our link. And when it goes live in North Carolina next week, you're going to wake up to $200 in bonus bets sitting in your account. So go take advantage of that. Sign up at BetMGM using the link that we have below. If you or anybody know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. And then also, if you're somebody who hasn't signed up at BetMGM and you live in a different state, there's also the deal there. You bet $5 when you sign up at BetMGM, you get $150 in bonus bets. So go check out BetMGM. Sign up using the link that we have below. Chris Williams gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, thank you for the support. Phil Senzig says that he is maxing out the 25-cent contest today. Wants to know what setting he should put on for that for FanDuel. So, Phil, if you are using the contest generator, so I'm not exactly sure, Phil, which membership you have. If you're running lineups in the Sims, in the contest generator, put it on low stakes. If you're building lineups in the lineup generator, pick the chalky setting. That's what's going to give you the best overall results for the 25-cent contest. And then Phil is asking us for the lotion play of the night. Eric, who's going to put the lotion in the basket tonight?
Put the lotion on the skin. Going to be Damian Lillard. I like Dame. I like Steph. I like that game. It's got a 227.5 total, which is just kind of asinine to me. I don't understand that.
I'm going to go with Giannis here. So same
Love
game,
it.
different player.
Yeah,
Giannis is questionable. I feel pretty strongly he's going to end up playing, though. He went through shoot around, which is typically a good indication, especially with star players, that they're going to end up playing. And another one of these spots, especially in like that $4 150 max tournament where the field isn't going to be quite as sharp. I don't think people are going to want to click on Giannis's name. And now, especially that we got the extra value that's opened up from Goga, that's going to make it easier to pay up for some studs. Give me Giannis as somebody who's going to fill it up tonight. Ace of Spade, DK Tiers, best options. And then he says, thanks, guys. So let's go and check out DK Tiers. Starting with tier 1, that is Anthony Davis for me.
Anthony Davis.
Tier 2.
Isn't that interesting? DraftKings didn't even put like any, like, I mean, they basically just axed Mr. Giannis, didn't even put him there.
That they did.
I thought that was weird.
So tier 2 is LeBron for me. I do have some hesitation about playing AD and LeBron in the same lineup. So overall, AD is the best option in tier 1, but I don't mind going to Sabonis in tier 1 if you're going to have, or Sabonis or SGA in tier 1.
I love SGA
too, but LeBron in tier 2, but it is Dame if Giannis is ruled out.
Yeah, I love SGA. I love Oklahoma City today. I love all 3 of those guys.
Who are you going with in tier 2?
It's a mile LeBron. This is the most clear-cut tier out of everything today.
LeBron. Tier 3, There's a bunch of tight options in tier 3. I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox, but we've got Kawhi Leonard here, Paul Banchero. Simons is the one who I wouldn't really be considering as strongly. But tier 3, which way are you leaning?
Going to be Banchero for me.
Tier 4, I'm going to go in with Vooch. And it looks like the Bulls are going back to not playing Vooch and Drummond as many minutes together. That's going to mean more rebounds for Vooch. I'm liking him in tier 4.
I mean, it has more to do with the matchups that they've had recently. I think it's just completely matchup dependent. I think they'll do it and they'll be happy to do it. But when would you ever do it against Sacramento or Milwaukee or in this case, Utah? You would just never do it. So it's not that they won't do it in the future, but Alex Caruso's healthy. He will definitely be starting here. So Vooch for sure for me.
Tobias Harris for me in tier 5. I had a bunch of live lineups last night, and Tobias Harris really screwed some of those, but still like getting back to him today. Tier 5, Tobias Harris.
Yeah, I like Tobias, but I have Kobe White for a little bit more.
And then tier 6, I'm going to be going with Jared Allen.
Yep, same.
Let's see what we have here. Super chat from Aiden Queskin wants to know, who is this Benoit Saint-Denis? Oh, wait. Who is the Benoit? Oh, okay.
Oh, so somebody who's going to absolutely wreck Dustin
Poirier. Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, he's going to absolutely submit that human being on Saturday.
So Aiden's question is, who is the Benoit Saint-Denis chokes Dustin Poirier inside 2 rounds play of the day?
That's going to happen, so that's cool.
So what we're talking about, an up-and-comer that breaks out tonight. Who's a player that could have a breakout slate?
Well, I mean, Şengün had his yesterday, so I guess he doesn't qualify. That was so fun to watch. I had so much Şengün. I thought I was going to have a better night than I ended up having, but Luka Samanic.
That's a good one. That's a good one for sure.
If they start THT in this spot, it'll be fine by me because I'll be overweight to the evening window.
Man, it's really hard. I don't know that given the construct I gave that I could go with anybody other than Samanic, because the other players I get a lot of exposure to, it's like established players.
Yep.
I'll go George Niang. I've answered him for a couple of ones, but I think he could fit for
Let's go. Can we get a little bit of that special Hilton magic for my guy? Let's run that back, George.
GBSE Big Geechee. I don't know what I just said, but that's his YouTube handle.
Oh no, so, it seems inappropriate.
It does. I don't know what any of those words mean. That's almost never a good thing when I'm reading one of these things off. But he wants to know, what are the best 3 value picks on FanDuel? Now, he said low value picks, so I assume he wants cheap guys. So Goga's certainly one of them.
Yes, for sure.
This is actually pretty easy. Goga, Campaign, Chris Dunn.
There you go. Good talk. Glad we had it.
There you go. I think you should be building around those guys. Big Geechee. Build around those 3. Mr. Biggs, top cash plays at each position on DK. All right, so this is the opposite of our favorite tournament plays, although not entirely, because some guys that we like in cash games, we're going to like in tournaments as well. So let's do the easy ones first. Point guard is Campaign. Shooting guard, actually, a lot of these are easy. Point guard, Campaign, right?
Correct.
Shooting guard, Chris Dunn.
Correct.
Right? Small forward, Kelly Oubre.
Seems correct.
So power forward is maybe the only ambiguous one, because center is clearly going to be now Goga. So power forward.
You're at 7 or Goga. People are trolling, right? This is a troll. This is a troll situation.
What, people saying not to play Goga in cash?
No, they're just saying like Yurt 7, and I'm like, look, you don't know if Yurt 7 sees the floor or not. So this is just madness.
People have been going crazy with the Yurt 7 stuff for a couple weeks now. It hasn't been a thing.
There was one day where I had him in like 3 of 30 lineups, and everybody loses their minds.
Power forward is really tricky to find somebody I love for cash. Before the answer would have been Samanic, but if you're already playing Goga, Campaign, and Chris Dunn in cash, you just need to spend up at some point.
Yeah, you do, but like that's where I think the edge of this entire slate is like the late swap potential of being able to turn him into some. So I know in cash, even though you need to always be thinking about like I can turn this into this, but like Campaign, cash game lock, we can agree on that. Kelly Oubre, cash game lock, I think we agree on that. Chris Dunn, I think cash game lock, 4K, probably agree on that. I am of the mind that you probably want to have Jared Allen at 7,300 in addition to Goga, where I think I'd be okay locking in both of those centers early. And then I think just Samanic to be able to have the maneuverability with Dunn. In case something wonky happens, you could have like even that minute edge. And I mean, the difference between Dean Wade and Samanic, like, I mean, it's $300. So obviously you have to think about it from a salary perspective, but like Samanic gets you exposure to that evening window, and we have him projected for 4 fantasy points more. So I think Dean Wade, I know that normally we have the conversation about, hey, you want to lock in popular players. And right now he's what, the 6th most popular player, but I would strongly advise you to go more towards Samanic than Dean Wade in cash, just for the maneuverability.
Fair enough. I'm good with going Samanic. I really don't have a strong opinion on anybody.
Just talking through the process, like I'm not playing cash today, but I'm always thinking about things about how can I increase my expected value. Like Samanic is higher projected as is. And then he gives me exposure to late swap, and I'm going to have Dunn up there, which gives me another spot to kind of move things around. If something wonky happens with Giannis or something of that nature, I could turn it into like a Jay Crowder or a Malik Beasley or something like that with another low cheapie.
Yeah. Hey, I think you made a bunch of good points there, and I don't have anything else to add to that. So Samanic it is. I was on the fence before. Eric has certainly talked me into it. So we'll go with Samanic there. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Biggs. And I'll leave this up to you, Eric, because that was really, really strong takes by you there. Do we want to do one more super chat, or do we want to do the nuke of the night now?
Let's do another super chat quick. Let's throw it in.
One more super chat. And then, by the way, Triple J available to play today. He is going to be in. Good. I'm liking that. Next super chat. It is from RADM. Guys, a research question, if that's okay. Of course it is. Everything's okay. I don't of all the places that we've not drawn the line in the sand, I don't think research question is where I'm going to draw the line of what's inappropriate to talk about on the show. Yes, research question is okay. If I wanted to check which player makes more
Greg. There it is.
That might be where the line is drawn. We'll see though. We got the post-lap show now. It runs all night. We've got if I want to check which player makes more threes when Mitchell and Mobley are out, which tool/site should I check? Yeah, so go to NBA Wowie, and that's the best place to look at all the information you need for our NBA on off-court information. That's what I use for everything. Anything that you would add?
Nope. Perfect.
Yeah, just go check NBA Wowie. It's a free site to use, and you could take any players on off the court. You can see how they could impact team performance, individual performance. And now with that said, play the animation, Jordan. It's time for Nuke of the Night. Look at that boy go. Boom. Nuke of the Night, Eric. This is your crown jewel, your favorite part of every day. Who's the Nuke of the Night tonight?
So he's going to be even lower owned, I got to think, because Goga is going to make his way into a lot of centers. And Jared Allen, I think being able to react to how he plays in the early windows, something else you're going to want to pay attention to. I do like Mo Wagner. This is going to be a guy that I'm actually going to be overweight to. I'm not going to have like 100% shove it in Goga because there are enough, I wouldn't call him red flags because he's the best play on the slate bar none right now. 3,200. We have him projected for 25 as we should, but there's a center that I at least want to point out a couple of reasons that we should be going his direction. I brought up Josh Giddey. I'm deciding to go to Chet because, again, I think he's going to be sub 5%. But you get this matchup against Portland. They're 13-point favorites. So people are already scared to roster Oklahoma City in some capacity, whether it's SGA, Giddey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams. And I think I'm going to be overweight to all of them for a couple of reasons. One, I get to have some swap ability here with Milwaukee. I think Giannis, as much as I do think he plays, there's at least the chance that he doesn't. And two, I think you got a little bit of a discount on him coming off of a really a difficult back-to-back set. Get this, Phoenix, Los Angeles, back-to-back games on the 3rd and 4th. What happens? Chet has his tag go from 8K. He has back-to-back failures. It drops to 7,600 in the best matchup of the three. We saw him get abused on the glass by Yusuf Nurkic, 31 boards. We saw Anthony Davis turn him into the pool boy. There are a lot of things that have you a little bit of apprehensive to click on Chet Holmgren, but he's been a 1.26 fantasy point per minute guy, and you put him in for 32, 33 minutes like he has in competitive spots, and there is a massive ceiling against a front court that just basically doesn't exist. Like Duop Reese been an above average defender over on dunks and threes relative to what I was expecting going into it, but I kind of don't care because the pace should still be there because OKC creates it. Yeah, it's only a 224 total, but I'm getting some under-owned OKC pieces into my lineups that it just doesn't feel like the field is. So I'm going to Chet as a very, very contrarian piece where everybody wants to get to the early center value. I can react to how they play. Chet Holmgren, unexpected nuke of the night.
So I like your Chet Holmgren call in particular because, and Chet is power forward eligibility, correct?
No, he's center only.
Oh, center only? Okay, never mind. I don't know why I thought he did. Either way, that aside, I was talking before about how power forward is the least clear-cut position we have on the entire slate. There's guys like Samanic we like as a value option, but there's just like absolute easy points per dollar plays at every other position other than power forward, which is why I like spending up at power forward, like mixing in different guys, like Giannis is a pay-up option, like LeBron is a pay-up option. But I really do like Jaren Jackson Jr. We did just get confirmation he's in. I talked about him a little bit before as well. I think this is the spot that makes the most sense to spend up when you've got so many good value options like Chris Dunn, like Campaign, like Goga at other positions. So I'm going to be prioritizing spending up at power forward. It just makes sense from a lineup construction standpoint. And with low ownership going to Triple J tonight, he's a guy that I'm going to be well overweight to the field too. Jaren Jackson Jr. in the power forward spot. That is my nuke of the night. Let's get back to these questions.
Love nuke of the night. You make fun of me for caring about it. You get so into it. You get animated. You turn into a different human being. So maybe be nice to me. Maybe. No, actually,
yeah, I love the nuke of the night. It's one of the core bits of the show. There's lots of things we've compiled together. It's my second favorite one behind the exotic play of the night, but it's a good one. I get excited for all of them. I like them very much.
Play of the night. It's so
Jacob Dunn, best pay-ups besides Giannis, AD, and then Clips -7 Rockets. All right. So Clips Rockets, and he's talking about the Clippers being -7. I think they're actually -6.5 is the best available line. But let's start with the first part of the question. Who is your favorite pay-up option on the slate who is not Giannis or AD?
Dame.
Let's see. Can't be
Dame
Giannis.
loves this. I hate player takes. I hate things that aren't completely data centric, but there is no doubt that Dame has been playing much, much better. And I'm getting him at such a low ownership number here in a spot that he has thrived in the past. He loves Mr. Steph Curry on the other side. This should be a game that I tell you, 2 or 3% Dame is really fun tonight. And obviously you get that added bump of like, hey, in the event that you have Giannis that sits out of the middle of nowhere, which again, I think we both expect Giannis to play, but I kind of like taking that risk. And I know he'll be higher owned in the event that Giannis is ruled out, but like still, I love getting to Dame today at low ownership.
I'm going to go with LeBron. LeBron also is somebody who I'm overweight to. There's a bunch of players that are projected for ownership, like in the 10 to 15% range, that I have in 20 to 25 to 30% of lineups. LeBron falls into that bucket. He's really good position eligibility, small forward, power forward. And also based on his question, if he's talking about he doesn't want to have Giannis or AD in this lineup, well, who's the most sensible player to get into a lineup as a pay-up option if you don't want to play a more popular Anthony Davis? LeBron James. Like that's the leverage spot there. So LeBron is going to be my answer there, Jacob. And then he wants to know, what do we think of Clips -7 against the Rockets? First off, the best available line is -6.5. Go look for the best line over at OddsShop. If you guys want to sign up, there's a link for that below. So make sure you're getting the best available line. I don't have a strong take on it, Eric, to you on Clippers -6.5.
No, I mean, we know Houston's on the back-to-back here, but they didn't have to travel. Clippers are traveling around the world. James Harden got to probably stop at his favorite establishment in Houston last night, so he's probably going to be a little bit off. I don't know. It seems pretty efficient to me.
If I had to take a side, I would take the Rockets. I know he's asking us about the Clippers side, but it's a lot of points for a team playing at home. So if I had to take a side, I would go with Houston at home. But not something I'm betting on personally. Sean Carpin is saying, what do we think Goga's ownership ends up now that he's starting?
Not high enough.
Well, let's see what his projected ownership is now. Because I think we got a run that came in fairly recently. I think the most recent run does take that into account. Let's check though. Right? Ownership projections for Goga. He didn't specify which site, but I'll do it for both. He's projected for 52% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's projected for 36.5% ownership. I'm going to say maybe a little bit less than that on DraftKings just because we have seen the field be a little bit less sharp in the $4. So I'll say maybe like 45% in the $4.
Sounds about right.
Next question is from Phil Senzig. Harris, 1 good game out of 10. Is he assertive enough? Here's the most important part about Tobias Harris. And you can't look at the last 10 games because it doesn't take into account that Tyrese Maxey was playing in some of those spots and he's out now. The reason you want to play Tobias Harris, it has nothing to do with how he's played in his last 10 games. It's because there are so many players out for the 76. Joel Embiid out, Tyrese Maxey out. It's a lot of usage available. I know he didn't have the best game last time out in a similar situation. It's not like he totally sucked either, but somebody has to take a lot of shots for the 76ers. More often than not, it's going to be Tobias Harris in this spot.
Fact.
Gray wants to know, will there be swapping to Simons if Grant is out on DK? It would certainly make Simons look better.
He's in my single entry lineup.
Ooh, you're playing Anthony Simons in single entry?
I sure am. I have a ton of interest in Anthony Simons. Did you see the usage? Have we seen the usage with Mr. Jeremy Grant off the floor? And the minutes are out of control lately. I have no idea what they're doing, why they're playing him 40 plus minutes a night, but they are. It's been 3 of the last 4. They have no interest in playing other guys out there. It is so weird. But like, I do think Anthony Simons talked about being overweight to this entire evening window. I have Chet Holmgren. I have Anthony Simons, those two specifically. You want to try to win a $4 with 108,000 entries. I mean, there are going to have to be some different things and different concessions you make. It can't just be jam every piece of chalk and rotate around it, but you can find 1 or 2 of these spots. And I think they all exist in the evening window. Dame, Giannis, Chet, SGA. I love all of these guys for tournaments because we have so many cheapies to rotate between Goga and Niang and Wade and whomever else. But those are all early. Samanic, obviously, the guy I'm the most overweight to. But yeah, I'm going to be trying to get different between 8K and 11, 12K.
So he looks better if Grant is out for sure. And that would make him be somebody who I'd want to get into more lineups. But it's not like he's a core play for me or anything like that if Jeremy Grant is out.
But part of my thinking is that Simons and Chet, having them in the same lineup there. I mean, Chet, I'm basically making a stand where I think that the minutes are under-projected most places I'm looking at the industry. If this game stays remotely competitive, it's on the road. They're 13-point favorites. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of scenarios where it gets wonky, but if it doesn't get wonky, doesn't Simons end up being the guy that you're basically saying? And like, it's hard for me building 150 lineups in the $4 or something else like this. And I'm, playing the $4 and whatever else as well. But it's hard to really go in and like hand pick each of those lineups and have the correlation I want. But like in single entry, I'm able to go Simons, Chet. This game stays close. Boom, done.
He looks better. It depends kind of what the nature of your question is there, Gray. I will have more of Simons if Grant is ruled out at that point than I do now, but it's not like he becomes somebody who's in, like 30% of my lineups or anything like that.
I only have 6% of him in the $4 for what it's worth.
We'll definitely be swapping to him a little bit.
Yes.
Cam the Man 325. Hey guys, he can turn Giannis and Chris Dunn into Damon Bobby Portis if we get Giannis out before 6. I'm with you guys playing for the late news. So he's asking Giannis and Dunn to Damon Portis. Yeah. I think that's a really good way to think about your lineups where you could already look ahead and say that you have a swap that fits into specific salary constraints. Perfect. I think it's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. And so that's the other part of having overweight exposure to Samanic right now is it just gives me that power forward spot for Portis, for Crowder, for, not going to play Gallinari, but like that's somebody who would actually see the floor.
Cheers Brew wants to know, is Triple J a cash game lock at power forward? No. I like him for tournaments. He's not going. One of the reasons I like him in tournaments is because power forward's a weaker position relative to other ones, and he's not all that popular. If he fits into lineups, cool. You could play him in power forward. He's not a lock for cash games, though.
Definitely not.
Cully Poston says he is really leaning towards Black as a pivot off of some of the Cavs trash. Is that a bad idea?
Yes.
I don't think I have Anthony Black in. I'm doing another run of everything right now, but I'm not going to have very much of Anthony Black, I don't think.
Yeah, he played 28 minutes yesterday. That was a little bit wonky. you had some strange stuff. You had, first off, I mean, Orlando I spent a lot of time with because Suggs was at 21 on Prize Picks for fantasy score. It was egregious. I made so many cards. He's at 23.5 now, so got some really nice CLV there. But the whole thing is that Cole Anthony, they kind of down on his minutes in a weird way, but they're still going to bring Ingles in to play minutes. They end up sitting yesterday, Markelle Fultz. He's there today. It basically was just a rest situation. And then Gary Harris goes on the shelf. So this is a little premeditated. 3,100, I would be really surprised if you saw him get more minutes as opposed to Markelle Fultz, who ends up in today. Like, it just doesn't fit for me.
Got a question here. We'll go into the Discord. Now, one of the perks of being in Discord, which you get with being a Stochastic sub, is that you do get access to our Discord where you get news updates. You can ask us questions whenever you want. So we'll be answering some of those questions. We got a deal right now only for people who are watching shows on YouTube. If you sign up for our Sims Max weekly package, there's a link for that below with the promo code Wemby. Wemby's in Victor Wembanyama. So WEMBY, all capital letters, but the promo code's already loaded into the link below. You can get 50% off your first payment of that weekly package if you sign up with the link we have below. So go check that out if you guys have been wanting to take advantage of our Sims package. And I could say from my experience, it certainly would be paying for itself. I've won, honestly, more tournaments than I can remember this year. It's been a super profitable NBA season, and it's no coincidence because it's the first year we've had the Sims up on the site. So let's get into these Discord questions, starting with Morning Napalm wants to know, why is he only getting to 20% of Jared Allen over on FanDuel right now? If you rerun that, I assume you're going to get a little bit more than that. Although also keep in mind when it comes to Jared Allen, I know he has power forward and center eligibility over on FanDuel. Your center spots are mostly going to be taken up by Goga at this point. So that does kind of limit the spots you're getting to Jared Allen, but I think you'll end up with a little bit more than 20% if you rerun everything right now.
That'd be weird. I just ran some stuff now. I just ran this. I got 48% just running it unencumbered. So I have no idea what you're doing to suppress that ownership. I'm not playing FanDuel today, but I know that when I ran it earlier and was looking at some of my lineups there that I got to a lot of Allen. And I don't think Goga should be changing it that much for you because of the power forward eligibility. You should still be getting to Allen in the Sims tool.
Hey, I'm Drew95 says, hey man, just wanted to know what the DK cash plays are. He says that he has Goga, Payne, Oubre, and Samanic. So other players that I think you should absolutely be playing in cash games. He said Chris. He didn't say Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn's a guy that I would add to that you should absolutely be playing in cash games.
Lock in cash.
Play him.
And here's the thing, like, I'm not saying that there isn't something wonky that could happen with the starting lineups. Like, if Samanic doesn't start, I wouldn't be shocked by it. But again, it's another piece. If you're going to have Samanic and you're going to have Dunn, you're able to react to the starting lineup. And we know Dunn is live to play lots of minutes. He played 28 against Washington. That game made competitive there. So he's 50% owned. You just play Dunn in cash.
All right, Eric from the Matrix. Next question is coming to us from Stokes. Stokes wants to know, who's the best option to slam today? Who's the best option to slam?
Slam everybody down and wind it all around. Jordan Klein. Hey, it's raining. Let's cuddle. No?
Who's the slam play?
Who is the slam your body down and wind it all around? Hey. I'm
gonna say Goga and Campaign. If you're just talking cheap guys that you would make as like core plays that you wouldn't have an issue just locking in, it would be those two.
I have eternal amount of both, so I'm just fine with that.
Do you have 100% of either of them?
I have 100% Goga right now in the $4. Yeah, I'm going to probably have 100% Goga. I didn't think I was going to here. I'm actually going to probably get myself out of it here. I got to do one more run here. I'm kind of procrastinating on one thing, which is my issue with this Bulls exposure that I have. I have too much Vooch, too much White, but I guess I'm probably just going to end up sticking with it.
I'm not going to have 100% of either, but it's fairly close. It's a lot. So I'm uploading my lineups. Unless anything crazy changes these next few minutes, this is the final version of my lineups. I have 92.7% of Campaign, 86% of Goga Bitadze. A lot, not quite 100%. I did have 100% of Campaign before. Just there's so many value options, which made it so that nobody was quite a lock across 150 lineups, but still a ton of exposure to each of those guys.
I will find out in 2 seconds. 3, 2. All right. We have Oh yeah. 92% Goga. That's going to be an enjoyable experience. Every lineup that doesn't have Goga has Mo Wagner for what it's worth. And then let's see. What do I have here for campaign only 64%. That's weird.
Next question we have here is Rico Rod 1980 wants to know top FanDuel plays by position and then priority Sixers after campaign. All right, so starting at point guard, that is campaign for me over on FanDuel. Do FanDuel lineups built out in DraftKings? If not, I
built them out. I'm just not playing it. But go ahead and we can just go back and forth. Go ahead.
Point guard, campaign.
Yep.
Shooting guard, Chris Dunn.
Yep.
Small forward, Kelly Oubre.
Yep.
Power forward, Tobias Harris.
Jared Allen.
And then center, Goga Bitadze.
Goga.
And then for the next part of his question, it was who are the priority 76ers after campaign? Yeah, let me sort by the Sixers. All right, so only two on FanDuel. Kelly Oubre and then Tobias Harris.
Two? What do you mean only two? Do you know that movie?
I do not.
It's Willy Wonka.
Wait, before you answer, Jordan, do you know what it is?
Oh, I just said what it is. You're such a jerk. Literally just wants the answers to the test and he gets them every time. You're like the hot girl in high school.
Let's see what we have as far as our next question is concerned. It is SJBS. He says, if I'm playing 50 lineups in the big contest, should I be removing duped lineups? So if you're running lineups through the late swap tool, it's really your own personal. Oh, so you mean in terms of lineups that ended up showing up more than once in the contest generator? No, you don't have to. Because if you're sorting your lineups by simulated ROI, it's going to take the dupes into account. That's already being calculated into the sim ROI. So no, I don't have an issue. If a lineup's projected to be duped once or twice, if it still has a high enough simulated ROI, it's cool. No real issue. I'm still okay with that. Mr. Cool Cam wants to know any must plays from the first game on FanDuel. Yeah, Goga.
Well, there's a lot of like guys I want exposure to in the first game, from Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner.
But he said must plays.
Must plays?
He's only playing
yeah. Goga's a must play. Goga must play.
It's Goga. Let's get to the super chats. And actually, never mind. There's a couple more questions that came into one more question in Discord. And then we will be all caught up on these. One here from Trouble35 wants to know, which of the value Cavs am I most worried to be underweight to? Wade, Niang, Merrill. And then the second question, will the $4 fill or will we get discounted Rick? So I'll have to check the $4 to see where it's at right now.
I have 0 Sam Merrill today, so I guess that's who I'm worried about. Dean Wade, I have 4% of, and George Niang, I have 8% of. So Goga really took down my Cleveland exposure for whatever it's worth.
I do not think the $4 is going to fill tonight. It's going to come close. It's at 94,000 out of 104,000. I don't think they're going to get 10,000 more entries in the next 7 minutes. So a discounted rake for tonight. As far as the value plays I'm most worried about being underweight to, I'm going to say Sam Merrill just because I'm always on the wrong side of Sam Merrill. If I'm not playing Sam Merrill, he's probably going to go like 8 of 7 from 3 or
Didn't it feel good, though, to have no Sam Merrill yesterday and not watch him knock down 8 threes because he was in the starting lineup and everybody just jammed him and it made no sense. And now he's more expensive. And yeah, he'll probably knock down every shot now that I said that. So that sucks.
Yeah, so I had a fair share of Sam Merrill. I wasn't where the field was at. The field, like 38% of him. I didn't have that much, but I did have Sam Merrill exposure. Let me see what I landed on for him after all of the updates here. So after all of the updates, where is this? Make sure that I've got the right file selected. All right, so I have 8% of Sam Merrill right now. I don't know that's going to be wildly different than what the field has, but it's not a lot of Sam Merrill. He'd be the one who, just because it's happened more than once to me this year, of him going out and just making every single shot.
Yeah, no, he does that.
Let's get to your guys' super chats. A couple more of those came in. Active Guru wants to know Darius Garland or Kobe White. That is Darius Garland for me. Yourself, Eric?
Darius Garland for me.
And then Tobias Harris.
Actually, I have a ton of both.
That is Tobias Harris for me. I know you're saying you're getting a lot of Chicago Bulls. So which way do you lean with this, Eric? Tobias Harris or DeMar DeRozan?
Tobias Harris between those two. It's a lot of Vooch, a lot of White.
Olrat 14 is saying if everyone is out for Portland. Okay, everyone is out. I haven't thought about it from these terms. This is an interesting way to think about it. Why you want to get Samanic. So everybody out for Portland, that meaning Jeremy Grant, Tumani Kamara, as well as Matisse Thybulle. So if all three of those are out, would we prefer Payne, Dunn, or Banton for DK? That would still be campaign for me.
Still be campaign. I do have some preloaded Banton, but not nearly as much as I would have if we knew that news.
Yeah, the price point on Banton, $4,400. Something else also, shooting guard eligibility only for him. We do have campaign is $4,100, so a little bit cheaper of a price point on campaign. But the other part of this too is you're going to most likely also, because the start times are way different. You're most likely not going to be getting that Portland news until well after lock of the Philadelphia game. Philadelphia 76ers lock in 34 minutes. I do not want to forego campaign and have Banton in a lineup just hoping Portland guys are out. You want to play campaign.
But this is all the more reason to give yourself 2 hours. You'll have 2 hours with Dunn and Samanic sitting in lineups, and you can kind of evaluate where you need to go, how you need to go there, how to break it down. No matter what, Dunn and Samanic are good plays to have in your lineups. Great plays, in fact, to have in your lineups. I can turn that into a lot of other spots. And again, I'm getting to more of the evening window. Talked about that multiple times.
Yeah, and I mean, I still, even with the other value opening up, I still do have Samanic in 33% of my lineups. Yep. And yeah, if we do get all those players out for Portland, super easy to turn Samanic, Chris Dunn into some of those Portland players. Campaign is not 100%. Somebody I'm willing to do without to hope for later news, though. There's nothing better is going to open up than campaign. I don't
Niang is starting. Niang is starting.
Ooh.
Niang is starting.
So that is going to mean
George Niang into
Sam
a lot
Merrill.
more lineups. No Sam Merrill. Get George Niang. I'm jamming George Niang. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. George Niang is starting. He's the best player on the slate.
You don't have to jam him in this second. The slate starts in 3 minutes. That game doesn't lock for 30.
I know, but I want it preloaded into my lineup so I don't have other stuff showing up from the early game the way it might have before. So we are going to just jam George Niang. It is Iowa State day. Maybe we get Taylor Horton Tucker starting and we can really run back some of those teams.
What a stupid starting lineup on paper.
It is
not that like starting Sam Merrill makes it any better. Like it's a dumb starting lineup no matter what because of all the players that are out for the Cavaliers. But I mean, if you would have told me at the start of the year that they'd be playing Garland, Okoro, Niang, Wade, and Allen as their starting lineup, it would you'd be like, well, something went terribly wrong, which it did.
Did Donovan Mitchell die? What happened?
Lots of players that are injured. One more super chat here from Talist 2K10. He's asking us, Dosunmu and De'Aaron Fox or Kobe White and Austin Reeves? I think a lot of those guys you don't want to be prioritizing today.
Correct. Niang or Samanic, it is going to be both. The answer is probably both at this point.
Do you have a lean between Dosunmu and Fox? I'm going to say Dosunmu. When's the start time actually of these games?
Fox. I mean, what? That's so late. Those are different pieces entirely.
Kobe White and Reeves. I mean,
I have a lot of Fox.
Yeah, I'm going to say Dosunmu and Fox. But with that said, you gave me a bunch of options that I don't really like today.
Yep. I like them more than you.
Dosunmu and Fox, though. All right, we are about to get to lock. And also, if you guys haven't done it, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, the show doesn't end. We just move over to Playback in like 30 seconds. Going to hop over in there. Josh is already sitting there waiting for us in Playback. So go join us there. We're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to try to figure out who we think is going to score the first bucket in the first game of the slate. We've got the Washington Wizards against the Orlando Magic. Josh and I did it last night. Neither of us hit on the first bucket score, and only a couple people on Twitter got the answer right. It ended up being Micic. We're going to do the same deal again today. A lot of people responded. One person's going to get a free Odd Shopper sub just by guessing whoever scores the first basket. I put a tweet out, reply to that if you guys haven't already. Don't be one of these people who tries to scam the system by waiting for the first basket to be scored and then reply to me and tell me who it's going to be after it's already happened. So we're going to head on over to Playback. We're going to watch the games and sweat it out. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hop in with us over on Playback. See you there.